Welcome to the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day, and welcome to the Reprehensibles. Welcome to the Unauthorized, to the VFM, to the Dread Ilk, to the Bears, and, of course, to the fans of Barcelona life, because I am here in Barcelona with the big bull himself. This is Farley. You probably recognize him from Barcelona Life.
Hello, everybody.
So, we're sorry we're late. The Streamlabs, which I've been using on my laptop here, it doesn't give you a choice about when to update. So you always get this sort of nice surprise when you fire it up and you're like, hey, we're running a couple minutes late. We should probably just get this going. And so you immediately get this message, downloading one of 672 files or something. So
Gotta love it.
yeah, can you explain why these technology companies are always enhancing our user experience?
Yeah, well, like you just pointed out, it's to help you enjoy your experience more. You know, only something that marketing people could invent.
Yeah, I've actually been reading a really interesting book called The Intention Economy, which Farley assigned me the reading. And it's been really fascinating because it was written how many years ago?
About 9.
It was written about 9 years ago. It's very intelligent. It, has all sorts of fascinating ideas about improving the internet consumer economy. And given the fact that it was 9 years ago, it appears to have done absolutely no good whatsoever, as we've seen. But we don't share hair care tips, but I have been known to borrow his trimmer when I leave mine at home.
Yeah, I think, 30% of us have this beautiful hairstyle.
Excess testosterone. I understand that's the problem.
I'll go with that.
So, anyhow, for those of you who don't know, Farley is the big bull of White Bull. He and Elizabeth run a technology investment company that is at the nexus of those two worlds in Barcelona. And they've been doing it for years. Pretty much if there's anybody who's anyone in that space in Europe or really San Francisco, they know them. And one of the things that we're planning on doing on the Unauthorized is a new channel, a premium-only channel called White Bull Business. And Farley, do you want to throw some of the ideas around?
Yeah, so, we've been talking about this for at least 2, 3, 4 years. Some of you, I think, have already pointed out that you saw Vox and I in a Periscope a couple of years back talking about, we need to launch this. And yeah, again, as he points out, I've been really lucky. I mean, I grew up in Silicon Valley in Menlo Park. I started coding BASIC when I was about 8 years old on Stanford timeshares and went to school at Berkeley. It's like, what else am I going to do except get into Silicon Valley techs, whatever. So I became a sales guy, and over the course of my career, I've met people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Scott McNealy, you name it. And as careers go, I've been lucky enough to travel around the world quite a bit. I set up an office in Beijing for a company I worked for, and then moved over to Europe, where we've been now for almost 13 years. So, yeah, we've just done a lot of stuff.
Is it true that you have a degree in massage from the University of Beijing?
No, I was massaged by a master from Beijing. So yeah,
I saw your birthday present.
yeah. Well, so we'll leave that for another Darkstream. But
Oh, I thought that'd be a Barcelona Life episode.
our Barcelona life. Yes, you're right. Well, so anyway, bottom line is we've been talking about all this stuff that we need to just, talk about. And we're going to launch this new channel. And I don't know all the specifics yet. We've got a lot of ideas. But in fact, we would like to hear from some of you about stuff that you find interesting. But let's just, as a baseline, we'll say, look, I've been working with startups now for 20 plus years. So we'll definitely talk about startup life, what you need to do. We work with a lot of investors, venture capitalists. We will talk about those kinds of topics. And, in general, maybe some business, some politics, some government. There's so much stuff going on right now. And right now, just to let you know, Elizabeth and I are working with a privacy company, and this is one of the biggest battles that we see coming down the pipe in the future, because people just don't seem to get what's happening with Google and Facebook and some of these platform companies, how much they control and how much they know about us. And AI is, looming in the background. And one of the next big battles is going to be, who has the most data to feed these AI, these algorithms, all of this stuff. Elizabeth did a panel tonight talking about some of this stuff. So anyway, we've got so much to talk about. And
Well, it's not just to talk about. They've been running these White Bull summits.
By the way, salud, little Spanish red wine.
Muffhead asks, I'm sold on the idea. What's the price? The price is just a subscription to unauthorized. We're eventually going to have a White Bull subscription or a Barcelona Life subscription or a combined Barcelona. I mean, it's the same thing, really. I mean,
Yeah.
different focus. But anyhow, there's two ways you can get access already. One is I think you can buy access to all the White Bull content as it comes on for like $99, but it's much less expensive, I think, to just get a subscription to unauthorized. All unauthorized subscriptions cover all premium content right now, and so that's the way to do it. Farley and Elizabeth are committed to the channel. Along with Owen and David the Good and the Survivalists, this is where we're going to be, and this is what we're going to build up together. And so, but we can also tell them we can give them a little hint about what's going to come on Barcelona Life based on what we did yesterday.
Well, and okay, I'd love to get into that, but let me just say one more thing about unauthorized, because I think it's important.
Well, you address it. I'm going to pour some wine.
Okay, yeah, that's important. But, with unauthorized, every day, we're living over here in Spain, and I have cable TV, I have Kodi, I've got all sorts of ways to access information. But so much of the content, the news, it just sucks. And I watch shows that maybe I used to like, and every season they become more and more like SJW Converge. And it just, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, what the hell? We gotta do something. So unauthorized. And, Elizabeth and I with Barcelona Life, we just want to do something that's fun and light. Okay, maybe a little political, because obviously I'm the conservative, she's sort of a liberal, blah, 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 blah. We're going to have fun with that. But we just need stuff that people want to watch. people who are tired of agendas being pushed down their throats, watching just, regular TV. Anyway, so to your question, you poured your wine. What was the question again?
I was saying we could give them a heads up about some of these upcoming Barcelona Life episodes.
Yeah, so we've got at least 3 episodes already in the can. We've traveled to a wine region about an hour away from where we live, where we had a fantastic meal. We talked with the restaurant owner. So 2 other episodes. Our birthday weekend. I think that'll be really interesting for all of you.
Especially if you use your gift certificate.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. Okay.
No, but it's the thing is, one of the things that we wanted to do with Barcelona Life, and I think that Farley and Elizabeth have succeeded with that, is to just show some positive lifestyle stuff. If you look at all of the reality TV, now I have to admit I'm speaking somewhat in ignorance here. I don't know a damn thing about the Kardashians, and I've never seen the Real Housewives of anything. But what I have seen from advertisements during other TV shows and stuff, it's pretty clear that all of these things are about drama. Most of it is fake drama, but it's all about people being upset with one another. And so what we wanted to do is find a way to offer something that's positive, offer something that is fun, offer something that people will go, you know what, that looks pretty cool. I'd like to do something similar, not in terms of like doing a similar show per se, but just, if you see people visiting a winery and having a good time, or people trying a new restaurant and trying new things, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you would read those travel magazines and you would think, gee, what would it be like to go there? We wanted to do something that would be appealing in that way.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that a little bit, so I met Elizabeth in 1999. It took us about 10 years to get married, and so that means we've been married almost 10 years. And she lived in Paris for about 8 years before we met. I lived in Sweden about 30 years ago. We traveled a lot, and we've worked in a lot of different kinds of jobs, working for big companies, working for ourselves. And what we really wanted to figure out is, how can we create a job, create a way to make money that is not dependent upon where we live. And it took us a long time to kind of get there. But now with, Barcelona Life, we chose a place where we like to live, where we like the lifestyle, and we're figuring out different ways to actually make money. And it's great. And FYI, I turned 55 a couple of days ago. We've just started going on a keto diet. We are doing a whole bunch of things that are making life pretty good. And we still get to drink good wine. We had a 18-pound prime rib for Easter. So it's not like we're suffering. We're trying to figure out ways to live great. And if that's interesting for you guys, great. This is what we want to do. And if we can do some business-oriented things with the other channels, here we go.
Yeah, one thing that they've got that I think is going to be interesting is Elizabeth has this absolute treasure trove of data, of videos.
Yeah.
In fact, the White Bull trailer that is up there is actually from 2012. In fact, it might be, for those of you who seem to be so fascinated with my hair, you might be interested. If you look closely, you can actually see me with hair in the background occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really interesting because you guys also do events all over Europe, correct?
Sure. So we actually, Elizabeth interviewed Nicholas Zenstrom, the founder of Skype, when he was just launching that company, when he was actually a fugitive from American justice. He couldn't come to the US, and he spoke at a conference that I organized, which ended the day the World Series started. So I taught him about baseball while we drank beer and got to know each other. And Elizabeth has a couple of interviews with him, so we're going to try and find all this stuff. Maybe we can show you some things that are kind of cool. Again, we're just getting started here, and I think we got a lot of good stuff.
I'm still hoping you can find the video of Bill Gates talking about how the internet doesn't matter and isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that one was pretty old, and we had it. I even saw Bill Gates almost getting in a fist fight with Philippe Kahn from Borland in 1991 on a beach in France.
Now that's what you wanted on video.
If they had only had smartphones then, man, that would have been amazing. I would be a billionaire just by, using that as blackmail.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it takes shape. And also, we're going to be interested to hear what you guys want to learn about, because one thing that's a little bit difficult, and I can say this in terms of she wants to come in. That's funny. The Labrador wants to come in. Anyhow, it's difficult when you have a lot of experience and information, and we're in our 50s, so we have this storehouse of knowledge that we don't even necessarily know is useful, because when the thing that you learn as you get older is a lot of the experiences you've had, a lot of the things you've learned, they're not necessarily things that you're particularly cognizant of. And so you just start sharing them with younger people, and they sometimes act as if you're dropping great wisdom on them or something. And maybe it is, but you don't know that, And so it's going to be very helpful for you guys to say, hey, look, we want to learn more about the difference between setting up a company in Spain versus Italy versus Germany versus Switzerland. I mean,
and shut the fuck up, you old guys, is an okay answer too.
But it's really interesting to see how fast things change. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was talking about setting up a business in Switzerland, and I said, "Oh, you need to talk to this canton. This canton is the best one for business and that sort of thing." And he came back and said, "There's 3 cantons with lower taxes than that one." And I had no idea, because I had no reason to look at that for years, and so everything is constantly changing in the business arena here in Europe, and it's also changing to a certain extent in the USA. And so it'll be interesting to see what people find useful and what people want to learn about. How do you dial on a rotary phone? With a pencil. But anyhow, it's some of the other things we're talking about. Oh, do you want to show the guest?
We're trying.
Come here, kitty.
Easy, up, come.
Apparently, she's a little shy.
She's camera shy.
Yeah. Do you use Morse code? Not lately. But anyhow, it's and then we're also going to look at. I think we've talked about this a bit. We're going to add some. We're going to add a cooking show. We're already talking to a woman who's publishing a cookbook with Castelia House. And
hello, 18-pound prime rib on Easter Sunday.
Yeah, those of you who
I will put my recipe up for free.
Those of you who are interested in cooking with Farley, just shoot him an email, and there is totally just pick her up.
Okay, come on.
There she is, the real star of the show. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that the YouTube crowd is normally going to be quite a bit younger because that's the age group generally that prefers video to reading and so forth. And so that's why these dark streams and stuff often end up in sort of a didactic Q&A give and take. Which is fine, but we also want to figure out how to make the experience a bit more challenging as well, and so we'll have to figure out how to do that. I'm still working on the best way to set up the quiz softwares and so forth, and so we'll get there. Keep in mind we just had the 1 month anniversary of Unauthorized. Not very long ago, and so we're still just getting rolling. We're going to get the book stream going early next week with Mere Christianity. Those of you who haven't heard about that, we're going to go through and read Mere Christianity together and discuss it. That'll be part of the Darkstream. As a rule, you cannot use the word didactic while feeding a Labrador treats on stream. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Do you like the dog stream? Is that fun? You're the star.
Maybe we call it, the dog stream.
Well, we've done. Actually, we called it the. That could be the. We have the bark stream.
The bark stream, the wine stream, the dog stream.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. We're kind of hitting. We're hitting on all syllables tonight. Syllables. We're hitting on all cylinders tonight.
All cylinders. Okay.
So.
So I'm off to the airport early in the morning. What do you think? Are you going to go on without me?
I'll continue it.
I can stay.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Maisie and I are happy to sit here.
No, it's cool. Go get some rest, and I'll carry on from here. And then we'll have a new episode of Barcelona Life up very soon, and we're actually going to go out and do some explorations into the world of Pata Negra.
Yes. Ooh, tomorrow. We've got that.
You're definitely not going to want to miss that one.
Maisie's saying goodbye. So, look forward to engaging on all fronts, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Farley.
Good night, guys.
So that's the big bull, and it's been actually really good. We've spent a fair amount of time this week strategizing, discussing what we want to do with Unauthorized. And speaking of Unauthorized, those of you who are bears should keep in mind the Feed the Bear book, the Feed the Bear audiobook at archavencomics.com. And also don't forget Milo's How to Be Poor is still doing well, both on Amazon and so forth. Roy Bear says, can't wait to read A Throne of Bones so I can play vegan college girl to your Sauron. That's funny. Ezra says, that was the most estrogen I've ever seen on cam. Yeah, not exactly, but whatever. This, I have to admit, this Ramon Roquet is actually quite good. I was a little skeptical. Farley's kind of militant about the Priorat. I'm not as convinced, but it is good stuff. So, oh, I see. I didn't realize that we had another gamma troll there. That's all right. We'll just address that here. And you're banned for life. Always fun. Let's see. As a dual citizen US EU, what kind of careers can you suggest for someone looking at moving across the pond but cannot fluently speak another language yet? Well, typically, the best careers for Americans going abroad is stuff that's either focused on expanding a U.S. business operation in Europe or hitting entrepreneurial activities. Excuse me. There's probably another one coming at that. Europeans tend to be less entrepreneurial than Americans. And so if you have entrepreneurial instincts, it's not a bad place to attempt to get something going. When we first moved over here 20 some years ago, I wanted to start a sports bar because there was just nothing. No sports bars, not even the equivalent of the old, Joe Sensor sort of burger establishment. There's more stuff now because of all the flat panel TVs and so forth. They've got much better sports bar type things, but they're mostly ersatz Americana. There's nothing approaching the sort of big successful chain sort of thing. Could partly be cultural, but I actually think it tends to be more the lack of entrepreneurialism. And so there do tend to be a lot of opportunities there. Let's see. Many Europeans work to live rather than live to work. That's correct, and that's actually part of the beauty of being over here. It's really fantastic to live in a slower paced environment. I found it very difficult when I would go back to the States and you go from meeting your friends for a 2-hour lunch in the middle of the workday to calling up somebody that you haven't seen in 2 years and they're like, yeah, I'd really like to get together. If you can be here at like 11:45, I'll have 45 minutes. And I remember telling some of my friends that I thought I was probably going to live 5 to 10 years longer than they would just because my level of stress was so much lower. Do you miss the Midwest? Not very much. I mean, there's people I miss, but in terms of, actually, to the extent that I miss it, I miss a place that doesn't exist anymore. I was really shocked when I went to downtown Minneapolis, 10 years ago, and it just was not at all the place that it used to be. It wasn't the place where I met my wife. And so it was very easy to not go back after that. Are there good Mexican restaurants in Italy? No. There are at best a couple very mediocre places, and that's about it. Benjamin says, I read SJWs Always Lie Good book, but can you give me a good logical argument why diversity is a bad thing? Because diversity ruins society. Diversity kills connectivity. I guess that's the best way to state it succinctly. Diversity kills connectivity. Social trust will not go back up over time. Penny Dream says, hey Vox, I got Primo on unauthorized. Excellent. And excited for the white bull thing. Can you say the difference between moral investing and immoral rent seeking? Moral investing is when you're providing needed capital to a organization in order to help it better function. Immoral rent seeking is when you buy a house in a country that you don't even live and you don't even bother to rent it out. You're just holding on to it, hoping that it will appreciate with the real estate market over time. And you're actually destroying both the society and the housing stock there. A good example of that is the Chinese investment in Vancouver. It's a complete disaster. Oops, what happened? Okay, I can't read the super chats that way. Boy, it's amazing to me that these different streaming softwares just can't seem to make the most basic stuff work. I don't get it. Okay, I'm just pulling up the super chats here. Which of Martin Van Creveld's books would you recommend? Recently retired U.S. military. I was considering Pussycats, love the Darkstream. His most important book is The Transformation of War. Among his Castalia books, I really like A History of Strategy. Equality is very interesting, but if you're looking for military, it's not really relevant to that. I also really enjoyed and thought that The Technology of War was an excellent book. I missed a super chat yesterday. Semirg the Persian said, Zoroastrianism is the true religion of my people. Well, it certainly was historically. I think you have a lot of Muslims that you'd have to convince otherwise at this point. But I will leave that up to you. Let's see here. Oh, wrong channel. There we go. Hawaii's real estate market is a prime example. Exactly. What is your favorite band all time and one song to listen to forever? I would probably say, I don't have a favorite band per se, but I would say that David Sylvian Orpheus is probably my favorite song. How many books have you read? I have absolutely no idea. Never ask me if I watched a video. The answer is almost invariably no. The Dashing Rogue says, what are we talking about? I was late. Well, we had Farley from Barcelona Life and White Bull Business on the Unauthorized channel on for a bit, and we were just kicking around some of the stuff that we're planning to do for Unauthorized. Sammy Bandit is correct. Millennials and Generation Z are priced out before entering the market. It sucks if you don't have parents who can help. That's precisely true. Christopher McCullough asks, have you heard of the band Stryper? Yes, they were more than a bit of a joke in the 80s. What is your opinion on the decline of circumcision being practiced in the West? I think it's disgusting. Oh, this is yeah, go away, Ezra. We're not interested in talking about your favorite subjects. It's always kind of funny. Gammas always think they're being so clever. They're so obvious. Let's see here. The comments are a little bit behind, so I need to wait until it pops up. There we go. I've never met the Dalai Lama. No. Of course I know Red Guitar by David Sylvian. It is very good. What's your opinion of Daggerfall, Julian LaFay's game design philosophy? I love it, and I actually hired Julian LaFay, and he left Bethesda to come work with me back in 1996, 1997, that time frame. He left Bethesda, and he was working on Traveler, the role-playing game, with us for the Sega Dreamcast, which at the time was called the Sega Katana, and unfortunately that went away thanks to Sega. The Sega of Japan killed off Sega of America and canceled all 10 launch titles, including ours, which was very disappointing because I think that what we were doing with Mark Miller and Julian LaFay would have been potentially an all-time classic. Thus ends the wine stream. The original XCOM as a game, I liked it. I found it a little bit slow, but I generally liked it. You know, something that some folks have been asking me to do is to revive my game design and game development course, which I may do at some point in time. I don't have time for it right now, but I'd like to do it. What do you think of Alice in Chains? There's a couple songs that I quite like. Rooster's good. Wood is good. I'm not a huge fan of the band overall. Not a big fan of Donkey Kong Country, but it's all right. I definitely, Doom and Quake was interesting because I didn't get, Quake was one of the few games that I completely failed to grasp the initial significance of. I reviewed it as a one-player game, and I didn't like it very much. It's ugly. The 3D graphics were ugly. The color palette was ugly. But it was also a phenomenal multiplayer experience. So that was really the first game where I thought the multiplayer was vastly better than the single player. Daniel asks, have you read Progress and Poverty by Henry George? It was the best-selling economic book of its time. In it is a solution to the housing crisis and the problem of taxation. I haven't, but it sounds like a book I should read. Let's see. When are we going to talk about Mere Christianity? Early next week. Quake 1 is still the best first play for FPS game ever made for multiplayer mechanics. I think that that's possibly true, which is a little disappointing. I would very much like to have the opportunity to do a proper multiplayer game. Actually, I have to disagree. I still think that the best... No, I'm not disagreeing with what you said, but I will say that the best multiplayer experience I've ever had is Alterac Valley in World of Warcraft. That was phenomenal, and I'm very disappointed that my work with Funcom and Age of Conan never got adopted because, I had designs for them. They hired me to fix some stuff for them, and I provided them with some designs that I think would have been absolutely epic multiplayer stuff, but they didn't want to go in that direction. Do you think the Elder Scrolls is a good fantasy world? I played a little bit of. I think Oblivion was the last one that I played. I'm not that particularly into it. Is college worth it if you get an engineering degree? As long as you don't go into too much debt to do it, I think so. Michael G. Roy says, coming to Naples this summer to watch kids swim in college games. Congratulations. Looking for a book or video about Italy. Thoughts? Thanks and God bless. I would read something like, well, first of all, I would look for a book specifically on Naples. I think that it's more important to read about, Italy's very regional. Reading a book about Venice is not going to do much for you if you're going to go to Firenze and Lucca, So I would just say look up a good book on Napoli. Although one of my favorite things was I was playing with my football team in the north of Italy, soccer team that is, and it was hilarious because I didn't realize it at the time, but the northern Italians actually use Napolitano as an insult. It basically means thief. And so I stole the ball from one of my teammates, and he was annoyed because he's much better than I am. And so he was irritated that I managed to do it. And he yelled, Napolitano, at me. And I was totally confused, like, he knows I don't come from Naples. What's up with that? And my teammate's like, no, he's saying you're saying you are a ladro, you are a thief. So that was an amusing Italian lesson. Trent Drummond said, Vox, have you always been confident, or is it something that you've had to work at? I would say that I have always been confident in my own abilities. That doesn't mean that I was confident in every social situation. I was very, very low on the social totem pole until I was 15 years old. So, but the thing is, I was never caught up in the gamma delusion thing. I never got caught up. I never felt the need to retreat to the safety of my own head. And I think what prevented me from going in that direction was primarily the fact that I was always involved in team sports. When you're involved in team sports, you can't. You have a very limited capacity for not blaming yourself for things that are your fault. You can try, and sometimes things genuinely aren't your fault per se. You fail to mark your guy and he heads it in. You have a decent shot and you put it over. You just have to take responsibility for those things. And so that's why I think that team sports are so good for young men, especially the kind of young men who might be susceptible to gamma patterns of behavior, because your teammates will not let you lie to them. Count Rhythm Bear says, I'm very excited for the Mere Christianity book streams. Would you be interested in doing a series on Aristotle's politics in the future? Possibly, but I think I'd probably be more likely to do rhetoric. I think that might be more useful for most people. And yes, Ultima is a fantastic game. I played all the way through Ultima 1 and 2, and I think most of 3. Let's see here. Oh, we got that one already. Good. Daniel says, also Michael Hudson, an author you have mentioned previously, was inspired by Henry George. Follow of George are referred to as Georgists. Another Georgist is Fred Foldvary, who synthesized Austrian theory with Georgist theory. That actually sounds pretty interesting. Joe Smith says Ultima Online was the best online game ever made. I never played it. I actually have like the collector's edition of it, but I just never played it. Don't know why. I was a big fan of, still am a big fan of Lord British. Had the privilege and the opportunity of meeting him several times and talking to him. That was pretty cool. Daniel Pereira says, for books on Italy, you have to buy locally. I just returned from Sicily today with about 50 pounds of books, all about local histories. Amazon is only good for so much. Well, that's definitely true. Kid is good student asked to help interview candidates for history teacher at private U.S. school. What should he ask? Ask about whether the heritage of America is Christian, Judeo-Christian, or Enlightenment. That's what I would ask. And Spider Bip is correct. Vanilla WoW was definitely the best. Would you ever go on Joe Rogan's podcast? I'm not inclined to say never, because you never know what the future is going to bring. But certainly, if I was asked to go on his podcast at this point in time, I would say no. I have no interest in it. I have seen it have negative effects on people. And so I just don't see what would be the point. And no, Fortnite is not the best online game. It's merely the most popular online game right now. I love the original Wizardry. I actually played all the way through the original Wizardry twice. Mac Holt said, Vox, do you still play games? Not anywhere nearly as much as I used to, but I still do occasionally. In fact, my son and I have actually been playing a ASL scenario this week, which is great. Have you tried Sekiro? No. Also, household income is another form of diversity. Do you think that houses that make 50K can live next to houses that make 500K in harmony and understand one another? I think they've got more of a chance of it, but they're not going to be very compatible just because their needs are very different and their interests are very different. Fargoth7 insists that Burning Crusade was the best. I did enjoy Burning Crusade. I have to admit, I thought that the next one after that's where it started to go awry. What age did you start to play team sports? Oh, I started when I was 5, I think. 5 or 6. I remember I played for the Arden Hills, whatever they were, rec teams. I remember I loved the jerseys that we had because they were purple. And it was funny because I was so little that the t-shirt went down nearly to my ankles. And so it's kind of bizarre to, when I finally grew out of it. But I loved it because it was purple, like the Vikings. I used to play, I started with t-ball, and then I played Pee Wee hockey for 3 years. It it was kind of funny because I couldn't skate when I started, and so I would skate with with the tripod. You keep yourself up with a stick, and when the puck came near me, I had to like swing quickly and try to hit it before I fell over. And we were sponsored by the Union 76 station. I remember that. And I was the worst player on the team. It wasn't even close. I'm kind of sad that I didn't stick with hockey, but I switched over to skiing because by my last year in hockey, I was actually the fastest skater on the team. And so I think I probably could have been pretty good had I stuck with it, but I was just too into skiing at the time. Also, this is just in. Joe Rogan is only 3 foot 1 inches tall. So, Daniel Pereira says, most people around where I live started playing hockey around 5 years old in a league. Not so common for kids anymore. Yeah, I expect it's still fairly common in Minnesota. When I grew up, that's what you did. Nothing like, and you're playing on outside rinks, and it's freezing cold. But I think it was a good experience. Let's see. Che Lear says, is there a specific place you'd like for us to be when we begin Mere Christianity? Thanks. Excited for book club. Just read the prologue and the foreword, or the preface and the foreword. That's all for the first time. Kristen says, Barcelona life sucks. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Lots of people do like it. It's very clear that lots of people like it. That's why that's why we're pleased that it's going so well. Scott Adams says sports is a losing proposition. I'm not surprised that he does, but he's wrong. He's completely wrong. Hey Vox, how did you end up in InfoWars? I was called and I was invited, and that was good. Have you considered the social effect of being born in late August, meaning you were always younger and less developed than 90% of your classroom peers? Well, yeah. I mean, it has an incredible impact on your social life. It also probably affected my athletics because, if I had been able to compete in high school when I was 18 instead of when I was 17, I probably would have been, I probably would have had a very good chance at being state champion in track. I would have had a second year of playing for a top soccer team in the state. I would have been a much more elite athlete than I was. But at the same time, it would have been incredibly painful to be stuck in high school for another year when you're intellectually ready for college level stuff, several years before you graduate. So it's it's got its benefits, like most things. It's got its pluses, it's got its negatives. It's all right. The Duke says, LOL, come on, state champ. I don't think you understand. I was the first of all, the guy from my school the year ahead of me was the previous state champ in the top level. I beat the single A state champ at the 100 and 200 repeatedly, and ended up I actually had the fastest time in the state going into regionals, but I ended up coming in third. So, yeah, I mean, I was I ended up running NCAA Division 100, 200, 55, that kind of stuff. So, you know, I mean, I'm old, but despite being 50, I'm still playing pretty high level veteran soccer with people that are 18 years younger than I am. And when we play the men's teams, the young guys, I don't have any trouble keeping up with the 18-year-olds. In fact, they were giving me a hard time because one kid that I've known since he was probably 10 years old actually beat me down the side, and so they were all giving me a hard time, and I didn't quite have the heart to point out that I wasn't actually going full speed at that point, but c'est la vie. Let's see. No, we're not going to talk about nightclub fights. Best way to warm up for sprinting to avoid groin pulls. You do that thing where you lean to one side and you stick your leg out the other way, and then push your groin forward a bit, so that you get some stretching right there. That seems to help. Machiavelli says 50 is not old. I don't think you understand how unusual it is, to hit that age and still be able to play at that level. I'm one of the 5 or 6 oldest guys in the entire league. So, my original goal, there's a professional player, a former professional, who's played in the UEFA Cup and all that kind of stuff. He and I decided that we were going to try to make it to 50, which we did, and we were still playing well enough that we decided we'd try to make it to 55. I should be finding out on Tuesday how quickly I can return to the field. I had a bit of a knee injury about 3 weeks ago. But I'm optimistic. I feel pretty good, no pain. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic that I can get back on and start playing pretty soon. Let's see. Oh. Yeah. That's funny. After veteran soccer, Vox will be playing against guys with one leg until there's no one left to play with. It's I just feel fortunate that I've been able to play as long as I have. It's a real gift. It's fortunate, and I very much enjoy it. This is the thing about gammas that I don't understand. This guy pops up and says that I'm not any kind of athlete. Now, why would you ever say that? That's just, it's a matter of public record. You can go to my university and see the East Coast Conference champion plaques and all that stuff. My name's on it, Are you just trying to get a rise? Are you genuinely trying to make somebody feel bad? Or are you just such an unathletic person that you can't imagine that anyone is? It's just absolutely bizarre to me. Never understood it. But, that's what gammas do, and that's why we get rid of them. No, I'm not into hunting. Never been my thing. So, Well, anyhow, um, Zach says you should see the Gamma Morons coming to Owen Street. Yeah, I think that we're actually picking up a few of them. I think we're picking up a few of. Gets It Bear says, hard. Yeah, I mean, he says, dude, look at you. You look like you haven't worked out in 3 decades. You don't even see what I look like. That's what's so bizarre about it. You know? I mean, I'm not a Joe Rogan. I'm not going to post my workout videos up. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, if you keep repeating questions, bleed over is inevitable. That's correct. Yeah, I'm just looking for a few of these guys here to ban them. Just very strange. There we go. I finally found Nick Rodriguez. So anyhow, well, that's what's going on for tonight. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Glad we were able to get Farley on. We should have some new episodes of Barcelona Life coming out soon. We're going to get some more of the White Bull stuff up soon, and we'll have new developments as well. So have a good evening. Favorite gospel hymn. Let me get back to you on that. I don't want to just say something like just because I can't think of anything. Yes, I did play hockey in Minnesota. So, all right. Well, have a good evening. We'll look forward to seeing you the next time. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.